Destiny Performing Art welcome you to Black History Month. Today, our focus is Jamaica at a Glance. Hello, my name is Ebony Jukes, and I'm the president of Destiny Performing Arts. I will be the host of today's show. We'll be focusing on Jamaican Patties and Jerk Chicken. What is a Jamaican patty? Jamaican patty is a light pastry that is filled with tasty goodness. It is delicious and it is nutritious. It can be beef, chicken, lobster, shrimp, soy, or vegetarian if you're not a meat lover. Let's look a bit on the historical background of Jamaican patties. Where did this patty come from? It is a unique blend of both the British and African culture, which came about during the time of slavery and colonial rule. This delicious pastry came from a traditional variety of pastry which was well known in Cornwall, England in that day. The Jamaican slaves, however, put their own twist to it by adding cayenne pepper and other special spices that was found on the island at the time, which creates its own unique taste. The shape and golden color have to have been influenced during the time of indentured slavery and came from India. The golden spice known as turmeric was added to the outside shell of the patty. This pastry was consumed then and now in many different forms. It was used for breakfast, lunch, supper, and snacks throughout the day. Patties are one of the most popular foods or snacks in Jamaica. Up to 300,000 patties are made daily in restaurants across our island. Two of the largest and oldest companies in Jamaica are known as the Tasty Patties, which came about in the early 60s, just after our independence. The second largest and oldest company, Juicy Patty, was founded by Jackie Chin. He started making patties at age 16 at his mother's kitchen and then sold them at his family grocery store. Patty restaurants have exploded both nationally and internationally in the last few years. Wherever Jamaican lives, you will find the tasty, delicious Jamaican patty. Now I will give it over to Bernice, who had a Jamaican restaurant here in Calgary for many years. It was known as the Caribbean Choice Food. She will demonstrate to you how to make the Jamaican patty. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. I'd like to demonstrate to you how we make Jamaican beef patties. So let's get started. So the first part of the patty is I'm going to work on the crust. So for the crust, we will be adding 3 cups of flour. Then I'm going to add all the dry ingredients at the same time. 2 tablespoons of turmeric powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And now I'm going to incorporate all the ingredients together until the mixture blends in nicely. So we use the turmeric powder to give the pastry a sunshine yellow color. I'm going to add 6 ounces of margarine. So I will grate it. Now here we go. It's all ready now to be added to my dry ingredients. Mix it around all at once. So I'll use a fork until it has a breadcrumb-like appearance, or the appearance of sand. I'm now going to add some ice cold water to this mixture and mix it around. It's going to have the shape of a nice yellow ball. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in the refrigerator, Saran wrap it, and let it stay in the refrigerator for 20 to 30 minutes, because then I'm going to work on the filling. So now we are going to get the filling prepared. Now my favorite part of the patties is the filling. For some people, their favorite part is the pastry. So for the filling, you will need 1 pound of ground beef. You will need a medium-sized onion. This is optional, Scotch bonnet pepper. You probably will only want to use half. And fresh thyme, about 5 or 6 sprigs. Green onions, again about 3 sprigs of that. Some bell pepper chopped up. 3 cloves of garlic. Then you'll also need a little bit of cooking oil. And you'll also need some breadcrumbs, which I'll show you when I'm putting it together on the stove. Okay? So I'm going to get my skillet ready. I'm going to put it on medium heat and get all these things ready. Now, one thing that I do with my onion, my pepper, and my garlic, I don't like to bite into chunks in my patty. So I put it in the food processor or in a blender. So I have already done that, where I've blended it up and it's nice and fine, because I personally don't like to bite into chunks. If you choose to cut them up, then you may just want to initially just cut them up the way you like them and saute them in your skillet. Okay? Okay, so making the filling, I'll heat my skillet on medium heat. Then I'll add the meat, and I'll use a fork as it's heating up to keep it crumbled. So at this point, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of whole grounded spice, or teaspoon of grounded pimento, and 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper. I'll add my minced or blended spices. That's the onion, that's the garlic and the green onion and the thyme, along with the meat. And I'll just continue to stir that up until the meat is completely brown, where there are no pink spots in it. So I'll continue to do that. I'll now add 1 cup of water. Keep stirring it around. Let it boil for a little bit. Then I'll lower my heat, reduce the heat to medium-low, and I'll add 1 cup of breadcrumbs and a little bit of melted butter. And I'll just continue to stir that together. I'm going to also add my beef stock broth. So I've got 2 cups. So then I'm going to cover the pot and leave it to simmer for 10 minutes. So we're now ready to bake the patties. So I removed the dough from the refrigerator. It was sitting there for half an hour or more. And I'm going to roll it out and get things going. So I'm just going to break it up in little pieces and roll it out a bit at a time. Get my rolling pin. and start rolling it out. Okay, here we go. I'm going to be using a homemade cutter that is about 6 inches. And I'll cut them out. I'll just use my and I've got my baking sheet. I'm just going to grease it with some of the butter. And in the meantime, you should have your oven at 350 preheating. So get the butter all over the baking sheet. And then I'm going to place the dough, a few smaller ones as well. I call them the cocktail size. And let me get one more this size for you. So if you need your patties this size, you'd use this size. You can have them smaller, you can have them bigger as well, okay? So what I'm going to do at this point, now I'm going to add the filling to it, okay? So we'll add 2 tablespoons to this size and another 2 tablespoons here. You should be able to close and seal your pastries. And for the small one, just 1 tablespoon of meat. And then what I'm going to do now is wet around the edges to help to seal it properly. You can also use egg white as well, this end of it, and then you'll fold it over like that. Use your fingers to press it down. And here's the little cocktail size. And then I'm going to get a fork and I'm just going to go around the edges like that. And I'll place them in the center of the oven. Now remember that the oven is preheated to 350 and we leave it there for 20 minutes, half an hour. For my oven, within 20 minutes it's ready. For yours it may take a little bit longer. So 20 minutes to half an hour or until they're golden brown. 30 minutes is up and your delicious baked Jamaican patties have arrived.
Now, I'm going to give you a brief history about how Jamaican jerk chicken came about. The natural inhabitants of Jamaica were the Arawak Indians. With the coming of British rule, they fled to the mountains. They would later join by runaway slaves. These slaves would intermarry with the original folks and later would be known as the Jamaican Maroons, of which I'm a descendant. The Maroons formed a style of cooking to preserve their meat and to prevent their location from being discovered by the British. They'd wrap their food, their wild meat that they would catch, they would pack it with wood, and on top of that wood would be dirt. It would allow the smoke to marinate the food, which was well spiced at the time, and seasoned, and the smoke would also form as a preservative. This form of cooking was known as the jerk. Wild boar was popular on the island at the time. That would be cooked and roasted underground. This meat would last for weeks. They would be able to feed themselves and their families, launch attack on the British without being discovered. This form would give flavor to the food that was being cooked, but also form as a means of preservative. After the treaty was made with the British, they no longer have to hide to cook. And the British and many others would love the flavor that was developed, and it would continue to this day. Today, Bernice will give you her version of how she does it.
Hello. So today we'll do some jerk chicken. I'm using drumsticks today. Now you can get your jerk seasoning from the stores anywhere here in Calgary, any of the Caribbean stores here in Calgary. But what I did was I actually made my own jerk seasoning, and I'll just go through the ingredients that I used. Scallion or green onions. I used 2 medium-sized onions, 3 Scotch bonnet peppers. I used ginger, about 1/4 cup of ginger, and I used about 6 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of salt, and 2.5 tablespoons of whole pimento grains. I blended them all up in vinegar and a little bit of olive oil, and then we are ready to go. So today what I'm using for my jerk chicken is drumsticks. So I use 3 tablespoons. I'll show you what my jerk seasoning looks like. Here it is. And I use 3 tablespoons of jerk seasoning to marinate my drumsticks. You can leave it overnight. You can do it half an hour before you're ready, so it's all rubbed in nicely. And then I'm doing mine in the oven. I don't have the privilege of doing it on a grill or in an outdoor setting, but it tastes really good on the grill. But today I'm going to have mine done in the oven. So now that these are marinated and ready to go in the oven, oven was preheated at 350, and this will take about 45 minutes. Okay, so the jerk chicken is done and ready, and here it is. Doesn't that look appetizing? Amazing, the smell right now that I'm getting from this. Hopefully you'll try it and enjoy it. Thank you for watching.
I would like to share with you some of the work from 2 of our local artists, Sidoni from Jamaica and Adrian, whose parents are from St. Kitts. Here are some of their artwork. Thank you for giving us this wonderful opportunity to share Jamaica at a Glance. I am very excited about future presentations and hope that you will journey with us.